Welcome to the Women Money Business Podcast. I'm Dr. Pretty Basra, and I've got with me the lovely Harriet today, who is a style coach. And I'm really excited to speak to Harriet because I'm really interested about the styling and the clothes and the fashion. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Harriet.
Yeah, so as you beautifully introduced me, I'm a certified style coach for female leaders and entrepreneurs, and I essentially help transform the way that they show up in the world, inside and out, so that they radiate confidence and lead with style. My background has always been fashion. I've enjoyed just the arts and clothes and design and the technical aspect of it. But I actually studied human resource management, so the complete other side of the spectrum, mainly due to my upbringing. But I still had a passion for fashion. And I also, many people don't know this, but I did launch a clothing line in 2022. Yeah. So it is on my LinkedIn profile. Yeah. And that's where I designed my wedding dress, where I got married 2 years ago as well. So yeah, fashion is, a part of my DNA. And it's with my personal journey as one of the reasons why I feel empowered, and my life's mission to really empower confidence, beauty, but also compassion with our self-image and our mindset, and how we essentially carry and present ourselves in the world.
So you mentioned that obviously prior you did HR and that was due to upbringing. I think that's really interesting because being Asian, we have, I'm just speaking for the whole of Asians at the moment, but like generally, there's there was that pressure when we were younger to go into maybe like healthcare background, law, accountancy, like jobs basically, like getting a degree that's going to guarantee you a job. Yes. And is that what you mean when you're saying upbringing? Was there that sort of, maybe not pressure as much, but more maybe guiding towards a certain career route?
Yeah, I mean, it's the love of a parent, right? They want to make sure that their children are taken care of and on the right route, and there isn't much difficulty on that route. So my parents are Nigerian, and so they said it was ideal to either pursue medicine, accounting, law, engineering, because that was something that provided a secure job, therefore income. Whereas art or fashion doesn't provide the same security. So that's one of the reasons why I chose human resource management. But because of the variety of the different topics, we covered law, accounting, psychology, it felt well-rounded to suit my personality.
So when did you make that sort of transition then from your HR background into sort of coming into your own in terms of into the fashion side of things?
I mean, even when I was studying, it was a running thread, it never left. So I had gained the support from my university with their enterprise fund to launch some sample collections during my final year. After I graduated, I went into working as a sales associate for Selfridges. So then I would still continually pursue style or fashion in those ways until I had a role at Monica Vinader, the jewelry brand. And then after that, I thought, I'm hearing all these different discussions that I'm having with customers, that I'm having with some of our clients. I think it's time to really just go all in. And I decided to essentially get the social proof, which was just before lockdown. And as they say, the rest was history.
And then in terms of you saying, talking about the enterprise fund at university, is that something that your degree sort of the course encouraged you to do, or is that something that you thought of doing yourself? How did that come about?
Great question. It wasn't something tied to my degree. It was something open and was linked to the Careers Hub. So I think in our exploration of HR and all of what that comes with, and I was at that precipice point where entrepreneurship was becoming a thing that universities wanted to support. So I think they must have put it out there and said, come to the Careers Hub to discuss a few different options. So of course you go to the careers hub to update your CV, get interview tips. So whilst a friend of mine and I would do this, we also thought, why not hear about the enterprise fund? And I just went all in, and I thought, you know what, the worst that can happen is that I gain experience, even if I don't get any of the money, or I get the money and I can actually test and see if this idea works.
And I suppose this is me playing devil's advocate, but do you think if you didn't have that option offered to you at the careers hub in terms of the enterprise fund, would you still have explored what you have in terms of having, like, making up the samples and things like that and getting that investment? Would you have, if that wasn't sort of showcased to you, would you still have gone down that route, do you think? I know it's sort of chicken and egg scenario because it's now you're on the other side of it, but what were your thoughts then?
I was very determined. So I was going to pursue this path regardless of whether they helped me or not. Of course, having this funding where, you know, I'm not owing them any money, so it was almost like a grant, was definitely a privilege and an opportunity that I can see. But of course, if I didn't, then there would have been other avenues that I would have had to explore in order to make the sketches that I was doing materialize into physical garments.
And how did your what was your parents' take on this? You know, with you saying that they were wanting you to follow a more traditional route and go, you know, accountancy law, things like that. What were they thinking when you started to say, well, actually, well, I don't know whether you did say, but like you started to sort of discuss with them that, you know, I'm going to go to this enterprise fund, I'm going to make these samples. What were their sort of views on that?
They were a little bit skeptical because, of course, of what their knowledge is around the fashion industry, creativity, art. So I think I had waited until I got a response, like a final decision from the enterprise team, so that I can go back and say, okay, I've got this. I'm also going to have mentoring calls with the advisors, and I still have my degree. So it was almost like as long as I still had a cushion or something behind it, and it wasn't like I was leaving everything, they almost felt like, okay, cool, this is a hobby, this is a side hobby, this is a passion project that she can explore, and let's see. But as long as she has her job, her degree, that's the main thing.
And in terms of the fashion, and I know you said that your fashion's a big part of your life and it always has been, you've been interested in that. Is there like a pivotal moment whether you can think that, was it that you saw a relative wearing certain sort of clothing? Was there an item of jewelry that you were drawn to? Was it something you're watching on TV that you feel that you might sort of pinpoint where that love or that urge to become passionate about fashion sort of started from?
If I had to pick what, because I mean, with my culture, we love to get dressed. You know, we use every occasion as an opportunity to go all in and go out with the colors, jewelry. It's beautiful. So, but if I had to pick one area, I think it was just my curiosity as a child. Like I would sit in front of the TV and there would be like the runway shows and the outfits, and I would sketch and I would draw them. And there were things called paper dolls. This was like 20 something years ago, that you had books and you can push out the different tops and trousers to create different outfits. And what I would do, because I was a sketcher, I would sketch and trace the tops and the trousers and create more outfits because I thought the ones that they gave me in the books just wasn't enough. I just thought this is a really, you know, I call it like my looking glass moment. This is my, you know, the Alice in Wonderland. You go in and you find this new world. This was my new world that I was discovering about clothes, about texture, about different colors, and just the possibilities of what could happen if you remove that and add this here and put this there and tie this together. So I think that was one of the many pivotal points that I thought, this is it.
And then in terms of sort of your Nigerian background, with I know some of about the African culture, but then, so forgive me if I'm sort of not understanding it fully, but from what I understand is when you guys get together, like you say, it's all about the dressing up and sort of the outfits. And for me, there's a lot of colour
Yeah.
involved, and except similar to as being Asian, everything, like you say, it's an occasion. Why not just put everything on and just be like really flamboyant because you can? So it's sort of part and parcel of like the culture. But then, did you like in my sort of mind? I think you can either love it or hate it in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
colours. Now, the reason I'm asking that is because, well, what I'm trying to ask is that I've got a lot of friends that are similar to me. They're Punjabi, they're Indian, and we've all been raised very similarly around the jewels and the hot pinks and the bright orange colours. And I'm very much, as you can probably tell, embrace that colour. Whereas majority of my friends are very much like, no, I don't want to. That's too far. That's too adventurous. And did you
Mm.
find on your journey into fashion, did you sort of steer away from colour? Did you were you drawn towards it, or is it a little bit of a mixture of the two?
Oh, I like
Yeah,
this question. I've never had it worded to me
yeah,
like that before. Um, I would say growing up, I loved it. I had bangles full of
yeah.
color. I would always do my nails. I did like, the salmon pinks and things at the time. But as I was growing up, I wasn't the typical body shape of a Nigerian African woman, or at least the desired body
What would
shape anyway.
that shape look like, Harriet? If you don't mind me asking.
But yeah,
Voluptuous?
so I'm on the slim petite
Yeah,
side. The desired side, that means you're well taken care of, is the more curvaceous
yeah,
side. So I'm not
yeah,
that. I'm on the smaller side of the scale. So that meant I had a lot of comments, negative comments about my body
right.
weight, about my skin tone, from peers at school, but also from boys that I had liked, and also from family members as well. So that did a number on
Mm,
my self-esteem and my body image. So as you can imagine, you don't want to be seen at that
no,
point, so you will hide. So I was wearing a lot of blacks, a lot of denims, because that's what everybody else was wearing. So then I just wanted to blend in, and I just wanted to cover up myself as well, because I thought if I covered up my body, then you won't
can't
have anything to
see.
say
Yeah,
because you can't see
yeah,
it. And then eventually, this was probably university time, where, your pivotal time of self discovery, and, who's the person you want to be? What career do you want to go into? What do you want to study? What path do you want to create for yourself? So then I was in that space of, I actually want to be a bit more confident
yeah.
in myself and my body. So that's when I started to use clothing and color to play around with. It was scary because I'm an introvert at
Yeah,
heart, so I don't want to be center of
yeah,
attention. I don't want to be the topic of
hmm,
discussion. I don't want anybody asking me, where are you going dressed like
yeah,
that? But it
yeah,
happens, even though I was doing it for myself. But eventually I saw that when I'm accepting my body, when I'm doing things for me first, the comments can come, but it's not going to shake me this
yeah,
time. And also, I began to see the positive side. So when I would walk into a room, people actually saw my
hmm,
radiance. People saw how, confident I was, how put together I was. So it was something I found that I was doing for myself, introduced me to the
hmm,
room, actually gave me confidence and empowerment first. So that's why now, I make it my mission that you can use style, color, fit in a way that works for you. I'm Nigerian and I still don't understand the whole color clashing thing. It's not something I will do
yeah,
personally. I admire it from
yeah,
afar, but I like to weave in
yeah,
color ever so
yeah,
subtly, or I would do it
yeah,
strategically,
yeah,
what it might be in my
yeah.
accessories. So there's a way to wear color that works for you, that isn't overwhelming, that doesn't make you feel like, you're in the pedestal and the light is
Shining on
shining
you.
as you're walking
Yeah,
through
yeah, yeah, yeah. That I get that.
but there is truth in saying that color does bring
Yeah,
joy. Color does make you smile more and makes you feel a lot
yeah,
lighter.
yeah. So I suppose the next part of your journey is, like you said, like, which I'm really interested to ask you about, is the stylings that your sort of your own range. Why And how did that happen? Because you just say you designed your own wedding dress, is that right?
I did.
I mean,
yes.
like, who does that? Like Vera Wang? Like, I don't know. So
I mean,
what happened? What happened, Harriet?
with the brand, or like what led me to design my
Yeah,
own wedding
so
dress?
both really. What came first? Was it that you wanted to design your own wedding dress, and then that's when you created the brand, or did you have the brand and then as part of that you thought, well, I can design my own dress? Like, what came first?
What came first was I always knew I was going to design my own wedding
Okay.
dress. I grew up watching Say Yes to the
Yes.
Dress, and thought I was going to go to Kleinfields in America to get
Yeah.
my dress, and that did not happen. But I just knew that with the array of dresses and who I am as a person, and growing up, the story I told, I like to cut things and put things here and try. I knew that I wouldn't be able to find a dress that I loved off the rack.
Yeah.
I would need to change something. There was a moment that I did come very close to saying yes to a dress that I tried on. But because I wanted to have my dress have a note or an ode to my parents, my religion, but also to my fiance at the time and who he was, and have a dress that was accumulation of all three of us. That is not something I can find in a shop.
Absolutely not.
So that was something that I thought, you know what? I created my brand at this point before getting engaged. And this brand was called Serenity. So it was all about new chapters, new seasons. And it was very pastel blue and the grays. And a friend of mine actually looked at it and thought, oh, this looks very bridal. Was that your intention? And I was like, no, it was just the season that I was in. And then I thought, wow, I can see how she connects it to bridal. And then that, I guess, gave me the extra confirmation. Why not just design your own wedding dress?
And how long did that process take?
So typically to design a wedding dress with a designer, you are looking at 6-9 months, roughly. Sometimes it can take longer, but typically 6 to 9 months. Because I knew what I wanted, I had a seamstress in Bulgaria. We have a great relationship. My dress took less than 3 months to make. I, of course, measured myself. I did the video call with my seamstress to decide on the material that I wanted. And I knew everything in terms of the drapery, how I wanted the fluting to happen. I had detachable sleeves. So it was very easy to communicate to her what I wanted. And again, because I had that technical knowledge as someone who designed her own collection, I knew certain things that I needed to have in the dress. So when it came, it was also the perfect fit. So normally you would have to do a few fittings to adjust and make sure it fits perfectly. But because of my experience, mine fit like a glove.
Amazing. And then was it what colour was it?
My wedding dress was white.
It white? Yeah.
But it had, and then it had an organza shawl that draped around the back with my lace detachable sleeves.
Oh, amazing. I bet you look stunning. And in terms of, is that something that you still offer now as well, Harriet? Do you still do your own label as well, did you say?
No, so I did have to put it on a pause the summer of 2023. Just, some personal things happened at that time, challenges. But I do also think, and I knew that creating a brand isn't a very expensive thing to do. But I think once I got into it, I didn't realize how much, of an expense it was, but also what you needed to actually run the kind of business I wanted to, which was a made-to-order, bespoke type of company. So I knew that I wasn't ready. I knew that there was still some things I had to learn. So I decided to put a pause, but I definitely have plans to resume it in the future.
And then when you were doing your own label, did you have any kind of mentoring for that, or was it something? Was it very self-directed, where you were sort of like going through and learning through the process yourself?
Yes, it was the
Mm-hmm.
latter. I was doing a lot of it by
Mm-hmm.
myself. I didn't have anyone in my circle who I could speak to for advice who understood this
Mm-hmm.
terrain. Like, it's one thing to build a fashion label, but it's another where it is made to measure, it is bespoke, it's a different kind of business model
Mm-hmm.
entirely. I did have people who wanted to help, especially from the enterprise fund. They had like an entrepreneurs networking,
Okay.
pretty much, where they'd bring people who run businesses or who started businesses from the university to help
Mm-hmm.
others. And there was this one guy who, bless him, he did help me and want to point me in the right directions, but I had a lot of no's. I had a lot of, you didn't think this through, and this isn't for you. You should do something else, and a lot of rejections, basically, which was
Hard.
tough,
Yeah.
as a young, again, introverted
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
woman who, I've got my parents who don't want me to do it. I've got people in the industry who are supposed to, or who I thought would be willing to give a helping hand to someone who also wants to be in that industry. They also said
Mm-hmm.
no. And then it was also hard to build a
Mm-hmm.
business, because you have to build the community and you have to build a product that works and that people want. And then there's marketing and all the other behind the scenes. So, yeah, it was a lot of treading through the mud, if you
Yeah.
will.
And it's quite sad to hear really that the no's and the rejections, but I think it's a common theme when it comes to entrepreneurship that most of the people that I've spoken to, most people that I know that have gone into business and entrepreneurship, it's almost like a rite of passage that everyone needs to tell you no before you get that yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's only
Mm-hmm.
certain people that can just keep, like you say, if you're an introvert and everyone like your loved ones are saying to you, well, do you really want to do this? Or you thought this through, and then people are sort of also saying to you no, then it it takes a certain kind of person, I think, to push past that and say, do you know, I know you're saying no, but then I really believe
Yeah.
in this, because you obviously have to have that belief to start. But then it's such a shame that you have to go through that and be made to feel like that, because imagine if you were encouraged, and what I'm not saying yourself, but just in general, imagine if that person
Mm-hmm.
was encouraged, imagine where they would go with that. And I struggle to understand these people that are sort of, they don't, or it's almost like they don't remember they went through that process. Like they were an
Yeah.
expert like that, they started at zero. And it just baffles me that they don't want to put their hand out and help somebody up, really. And it's such a shame that it's across all sectors. It doesn't seem like it's specific to one sector, but I know that I've heard the fashion industry is quite rough, for want of a better word. And
Yeah.
I suppose your first-hand experience of it is that, I suppose, which it's just sad, because it's just think people's dreams and hopes, just crushing them. And it'd be nice for there to be a space where, or a network of individuals that don't have that mindset. And I don't know where we find them, to be fair. I think being female as well, you have a business idea and then you're female, and in our case we've then also got the ethnicity card on top of that, so you're just like, right, okay, what we're meant to do now. So yeah. um
I think it really comes down to remembering the
mhm,
vision, because I think sometimes I even think, like, what kept me going? Like, why did I still continue when I could have just said, you know what, this is not for me. I'll just stick to, the customer service role that I was
mhm,
doing and leave it at that. But I think it's remembering the
mhm,
vision that you have. I knew that I really wanted to empower women through style, through beautiful designs that were tailored to them, that made them feel like they were just adorned in
yeah.
beauty. Um, and then I also had some, I mentioned not having a lot of support, but especially during uni, my best friend at the time, she was my voice of reason. She was my sounding board. She was the one that cheered me on and said, hey, like, look at these sketches
Yeah.
that you have. These deserve to be made and worn and walked down the
Yeah.
runway, which thank God they were.
Yeah.
So, having those one or two people that know you, they understand your vision, and they can really cheer you on. That's something that really held me down and helped me look
Yeah.
up when because I had my dark
Yeah, of course.
moments, I had moments where I wanted to quit, but they really did help me push through and become the woman
And
that I am
today,
today.
and I suppose it's like it's your circle, and staying true to your vision, isn't it? It's I'd say what I've sort of picked out from what you've said. And I think if you've got the right people around you, you can move mountains. Whereas if you've got like there's negative people around you, even if you're positive, it just sucks your energy, doesn't it? It just drains you. And then looking into sort of the next sort of phase of or your next facet of your being in terms of being a style coach. What is that like? Because like I feel like a business coach and I don't know, like an executive coach, like, and you're a style coach, so I'm really excited to learn more about that. Really,
More about being a style
yeah.
coach. Well, a little bit of, what I said at the beginning, it's really styling somebody from the inside
Mm-hmm.
out. It's because at the moment, traditional styling is more, it's project based, it's external based, it's, what event are you dressing for? Or, whereas in dressing someone from the inside out, it's more, where are you now and where you used to be? Sometimes there might even need to be an internal shift that happens between, when you look in the mirror, what is it that you see? Or where's there a disconnect, incongruence between what you're seeing and what you're actually doing, or why you feel like you're not deserving of something. Because I truly believe that, I can shop for someone and put them in a gorgeous red Valentino blazer, right? Or even a Veronica Beard blazer. But if they don't feel that they're deserving of it, if they don't feel like this next level of them needs to have this in order to embody and support them in their goals or help them stand a lot taller, or that they can prioritize who they are today, that Veronica Beard or Valentino blazer is not going to do anything. It's just going to sit back in their closet, and they're going to default back to what they were doing. So I really support them and walk alongside them with that internal change. Essentially, it's their self-image, and using style as a vehicle
Mm-hmm.
or a tool to really move them towards that confidence and just radiating for to see.
And how would a person, like, I don't know how to sort of phrase this, how would you know as a person that, do you know what, I need to see a style coach? Like what sort of feelings would that, I mean, I'm not something, obviously everybody's different, everybody feels things differently, and I can totally understand that, but I assume there may be some common themes that come through with the people that you style and do sort of one-to-ones with. Are there like certain themes that you've picked up on where they just think it's a light bulb moment, this is why I need to do it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main ones that tends to come up is, they're successful and maybe they've got a few speaking engagements or things where they got to come to the public eye, and they look at their wardrobe and they're like, this doesn't represent or reflect or even do where I am justice, because it's speaking to a past version of me, and then you've got some of the women who they dress down, they want to present themselves as a powerhouse, as a CEO, as a business owner. But when they look back at pictures, all they see is, not my words, but they say they look frumpy.
Yeah.
They look ugly.
Oh, yeah.
They don't look stylish. They don't look effortless, but that's what they want. So it's that disconnect between what they want and what they want to happen and what they're seeing, maybe on their website or maybe when they've gone to an event. Some women have told me actually that they've said no to specific events or opportunities because they just know, in terms of presentation, it's just not the woman that they want to present to the world. So they prefer to hide and default back to the sidelines. So that's just a few of the common things that come up.
That's quite sad, really, because they're almost giving up opportunities because of how, to a certain extent, society is making them feel. Because it's why, I suppose it's probably a bigger conversation, but why do they feel that they need to look a certain way to do, for example, a TEDx talk? You know, why do they feel that they need to be wearing maybe a blazer and be really sharp appearance? Because part of, as a CEO or a founder or a leader or an executive, my personal view is part of your greatness and your uniqueness is you. And
yeah,
and I'm not saying that just turn up in your pajamas and everything's great, you know. But at the same time, I think you have to also be true to yourself. And
of course.
I think I've probably coming from a place of in sort of my life, I suppose. I am a very colourful person, and I've always worn a lot of colour, and I've never registered that I wear a lot of colour, which I don't know whether you've come across that before. And I've never really realised that I wear lots of colour, or I wear like big jewels and statement jewellery, apparently, and just like sequins and stuff. Because I've never gone and thought, well, I'm going to go buy that bright top and I'm going to get those sequins. It's just what I'm drawn to. I'm a bit like a magpie. And then when I was probably in my early 20s, I had a circle of friends, and one of my friends, good friends, said, "Oh, only you can wear what you wear." And a little bit like yourself, like when you're younger as well, you can take. And I know, like you mentioned about your physical appearance didn't fit the societal norms for Nigerian society. And in my case, it was like my dress sense didn't sort of fit what people were expecting of me. And I remember her saying to me, like, "Oh, only you can wear that and get away with it." And I'm sure it was probably meant as a compliment, but it was very hurtful because I started to reflect on what do you mean by that, and I think I even said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Oh, because everything you wear is quite garish." And I sort of struggled with my self-confidence, and I sort of then took that back home, and I was just thinking, what am I, like, am I sort of offending people by what I'm wearing? Like, I never really realised that I'm wearing stuff that's really colourful and I've got sequins and things like that. Because I was trying to home into, what do you mean by that? And she was like, "Oh, the jewels and the statement jewellery and the colours." And then I went through this phase of what I call like the black years, and I just started wearing black. And even my husband was like saying to me at the time, because it was like a few years into my 20s, my husband was saying, like, "You're just wearing black, like, are you okay?" Like, and I was just, and I didn't want to tell him, and that sounds really silly, but I felt embarrassed, because I just thought I'm embarrassing myself, I'm embarrassing people around me, my friends are embarrassed of me because of my sense of style. And I went through a couple of years of, like, say, the black years, where I would just wear black, but it affected my mood. And then, you mentioned before, like, colour makes you feel happier, and I can 100% resonate with that, because it did affect my mood. And if I looked at myself in the mirror, I'd just think, well, I'm wearing black, it'll hide my body shape, like you've mentioned. And then every so often I feel a bit daring and just put a statement piece of jewellery on top of it and think that's just like an ode to me here, put the jewellery on. And then and then my husband sort of went deeper into it, sort of, I think about a year or so into it. And he said, why are you doing this? Like, this is not you, I'm used to you wearing really like flamboyant outfits, and that's you. And I sort of said, and I started sharing with him that this is what this person said to me. And he was just like, well, maybe they're just jealous, maybe they or aspire to wear things with confidence. And I said, but I'm not wearing it with confidence, I'm just wearing it because I like it. There's a difference, I think, with sort of when you're wearing something that you like versus when you're wearing something with confidence, because I can wear something I like and not be confident, and vice versa. And like you say, well, you could be confident, but if you're in the wrong jacket, you may not feel confident. And it just sort of made me question my identity, ultimately. So I was just like, because obviously, like, clothes are such a massive part of you, and as you are clearly aware, it's such a massive part of you. And I couldn't believe that somebody commenting on my outfits and my outfits choices could affect me so much. And I can, and with you saying about people being offered opportunities and they've said they can't because they don't feel they can show up as the person that they're perceived to be. And then I think it was like a year or so later, I just thought, you know what? No, because I don't feel happy wearing what I'm wearing. I like to wear colour, and that is me. And then I just sort of just was like, no, I'm just going to just embrace what I am, because I'm not trying to do it to make a statement. I just love sequins, colour, gems, everything. And I feel better for it. And then, like, more often than not, my husband's sick of going out with me when I'm on, say, going for a meal, if I'm wearing like one of my really OTT outfits. People will come up to me and say, love your outfit, and he'll be like, oh my god, I'm not going to hear the end of this. But then I just think it's not, it doesn't just make me feel happy. The people that are seeing my outfit are all like, I love that, that's really nice. And I just feel like it's such a, like I say, it's such a massive thing, like how you show up as yourself. And I think I saw some stats recently on how people judge you based, when you walk into a room, people make a judgment based on what you're wearing. And I think like 60-70% is due to your physical appearance, in terms of obviously your face, but how you're dressing. And have I got that sort of, have you heard of that sort of figure before?
Yeah, about 71% is your visual appearance. So it's the way you look, makeup, grooming, but also part of it is, body language. How are you carrying yourself? Because all of that sends a message to your audience or who's on the other side of you. Are you confident? Are you trustworthy? Do you feel sure of yourself? Do you feel sure of what you're saying? Are you someone that I can trust with my money or with this opportunity? So everything is sending a message. And I like to say, when we think about style, when we think about appearance, you can decide, when you view style as tools, you can decide how you want to wield it or use it so that you can take control of your desired perception.
In terms of, I know you do like radiant styling. I know you've touched upon radiance throughout the podcast. Could you talk to me a little bit more about that? In terms of
the reason why it's called radiant styling is partly because of my journey as well, where that stage of life where I wanted to just blend in with others. One, that's, doing a disservice to what I've been put on this earth for, the blessing and the impact and, just the encouragement that I can bring to those around me. But of course, if I'm struggling within myself, if I'm thinking of us as lights, I'm not shining, and I'm a Christian. So there's a verse that talks about, a light that is covered cannot do anything. And if you think about it literally, if you're in a room, it's just not useful. So I like to think of, and this scientifically proven that the way that you dress can impact the way that you feel, the way that you behave, the way that you interact with others, and the way that you carry yourself. So if that already causes a change psychologically within yourself, mentally, but also physically, that is going to exude out for everybody else to see. They're going to witness the confidence, the charisma, the presence, whether you're on stage or whether you're just speaking to a friend. And I've had clients one client who I worked with last year, who really confirmed the reason why I'm doing all of this, is she said that she's now able to explore style where her body is not a barrier to it. And that is something that is pivotal, because even in pictures, you're like, oh, I'm not smiling, or oh, I'm not myself, or you're nitpicking at every single thing. But when you are confident within yourself and sure within your skin, and you are wearing what you love and you feel stylish and effortless and all the great things, regardless of what picture it is, you're no longer looking at it from a self-critical point of view, but everything about you your poise, your reactions, the way that you carry yourself, that's all radiant. So the styling that I do is to bring out an inner and external radiance.
It's almost bringing out your inner light, isn't it? And making, like you say, like shine bright. And in terms of sort of, I know you offer one-to-one services. What does that look like? Sort of, is that sort of multiple sessions? And what kind of average session time is there? What do you go through? Like, for me, when I'm thinking like stylist, it's like color swatches and stuff. That's what image I've got in my head. But but then it would be so interesting to know what do you do?
So personally, I have like 3 main services. So the first one is like a 60-90 minute, which pretty much we can discuss whatever it is you want to discuss. Some clients prefer to use that as a time for me to just have eyes in their wardrobe to see what could be styled in different ways. Maybe they're not buying the right jeans that flatter their body, or just a specific topic like shopping habits and what brands they should be looking at. The second one is more of like a wardrobe curation. So looking at organization, looking at the pieces that you have, what pieces are missing. So identifying the gaps and giving them that recommendation. That's typically done within 3 hours of working together. And usually there's an optional time for that inner confidence where we do look at your body image, dressing your body shape as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one is a series of about 4 to 5 different sessions together, lasting about 60 minutes, where we explore everything to do with your style. We do almost like a complete transformation or overhaul. And what I'm doing this year is including like a brand photo shoot bit at the end to celebrate.
Yeah.
So it's like a makeover, but a lasting makeover. So that you kind of have those pictures to commemorate what you've just processed through and what you've gone through as well. And that has the option of in-person or virtual shopping together as well. So we do one-to-ones, but I also do talks as well as workshops and different activities like style clinics for events.
Oh wow, that's really cool. And so do people normally contact you by your website? Do they find you on LinkedIn to do that? Or are you on Instagram? Like, how do they find you?
I'm on Instagram under Radiant Styling, but typically they've come through LinkedIn. We have a chat. You can also book a complimentary 15-minute discovery call as well to see which options suit you. Do you need something a bit more tailored? Or how can we bring this to your organization or next event as well?
And do you find that, do you get many like corporate clients? You know, when I say corporate, I mean like companies asking for you to come and do like sort of style talks and stuff. Have you had that before? Or?
Towards the end of last year, yes, there were a few that would come to me and ask, do you do workshops? Do you do talks for organizations, for women, in terms of, you know, the women empowerment groups that they have in organizations now? So yes, that's something that has popped up towards the end of last year. And one of the networking events that I supported last year, we did a mini talk and then a style clinic as well. Because, of course, some people don't want to ask their questions in front of a large people. So with the style clinic, they were able to drop in one by one and get personalized feedback and an actionable step that they can literally implement when they get home.
Yeah, because I just think like with everything that you're discussing, and I think sometimes people may not realise the extent of that, like you say, the style can have on all aspects of your life. So, and because obviously you're sort of, your target audience is like executives and leaders, it'd be really good to sort of be in that space to have that sort of one-to-many conversation where you can empower lots of women at the same time. And they might even not have thought about the things that you offer, but when you sort of talk about the theory and the science and everything around it, you sort of almost, you know, are shifted really. And you also, I think you mentioned previously that you're doing a 3-day style challenge. Is that right?
Yes.
What's the challenge?
So it's a 3-day Radiantly You challenge, and it pretty much speaks on everything that I spoke about, which is like my unique methodology of inside out. And we cover 3 main steps. So each day is one specific topic. Day 1 is about vision. I really do believe that if you don't have the vision, every decision that you make is not going to align with where you're going or what you're trying to achieve. The second one is mindset. So that's anything that comes in the way of being seen, in the way of pursuing your desired style. And I touch on the number one mindset that we all, and we've all embarked on, and how to different strategies on how to overcome it.
Okay.
And then the third day is the strategy. So the presence, building a goal aligned wardrobe, as well as the secret to building outfits on repeat. Because one of the things that comes up is, how do I create outfits? And this can be using pieces from your wardrobe. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and buy, a whole wardrobe full of clothes, or it will help you narrow down those specific pieces that you need to weave in to your wardrobe to create those outfits.
So could I just ask, so what I was going to ask was, you mentioned that you don't have to sort of go out and buy a whole new wardrobe, that you can use pieces that you've already got in your current wardrobe. But what I was asking was, with your styling sessions, do you recommend that you do the sessions like seasonally, so that you have like your sort of style, not that your style changes, but you sort of what you'd be wearing would change sort of through the seasons? Or do you normally style so it's sort of for the full year, so you've got all your staple pieces and you know how to sort of mix and match them?
I think it depends on what the current client's wardrobe looks like and what they have. It's very prescribed, if you will. So one person might have some really great foundations and they're really good with the summer, but not so great with the winter. So then therefore I might recommend for the spring, the winter, and make recommendations so that it lasts throughout the whole year. Of course, they're more than welcome to come back and check in around spring, summertime. So I want to create timeless pieces, so that you're able to build upon them regardless of the season, regardless of the year, regardless of what's on trend. However, I do recommend those touch points anyway, just to make sure they've got what they need. Typically, it's 1 or 2 things. So if we work together around autumn, winter, there's 1 or 2 things around spring, summer. Maybe they're going on holiday and they need some specific pieces, but it's very rarely that, we've chucked everything out. And then we've got a new autumn, winter and a new spring, summer, and that's happening every single year. It's more specific pieces that we need to bring in. It's a belt, it's a jacket, a trench coat, and things like that.
And then in terms of sort of a top tip, what sort of top tips would you give to women that are sort of questioning, maybe, do they need, like, well, I suppose the difference as to answer it is either the women that are questioning why I would need a style coach, and or then a second tip for those that just in general, like, where you can just elevate your style by doing something very simple. Like, are you able to sort of share anything like that?
Great question. I mean, I would just say open to having a conversation. There's no harm in, getting that complimentary 15 minutes, because there's something that we can all be doing, whether that is wearing more of those statement jewelry, or there was one lady who, she's great with color, and she had a red pantsuit that she loved, but she realized after us talking that she wasn't wearing it as often as she could, even though she loved it. So it's things like that comes up whilst you're having the conversation, so just be open to having that conversation, as there might be 1 or 2 things that you're not doing that you actually would love to be doing more. And maybe you just need to unpack what's happening, kind of like what we both shared during this chat together. And then for those who generally just want to elevate their style, I would say, look at your accessories. Your accessories is one of those key but small pieces that can really take an outfit to the next level, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be statement, it can be small studs, for example. It could be having a colored stone on your ring. So small, or even just textures to your belt, adding a texture to when you're layering, so just playing around with accessories. Accessories is one of those silent but potent, things that can just really
elevate,
make the difference, for sure.
And then in terms of what you're wearing today, then Harriet, what's the inspiration of what you've got on? Because it just looks like so couture. But like, I don't know how. If I was to do this, I would look like a homeless person. But you've done it so well; it just looks really chic. So how did you do that? Like, what's your thought process?
I mean, firstly, my style is a combination between classic, romantic, and edgy pieces. Okay. So that's like classic tailoring paired with romantic, soft detailing, but then edgy might be it's an asymmetric, it's just out of the box. Okay. And I love that you said couture, because often my designs and the way that I made them quite couture, which is like hand finishes, or it's just very art-like. Yes. So in the pairing of this today, this is actually a men's my husband's shirt.
Okay.
And then this bustier is from my collection, actually. Wow. So it's textured with a mesh over satin. The necklace was also gifted. Can't remember where now, but it's just a really nice subtle necklace. I've decided to wear it as a tie, just for an added effect. And then statement jewelry again, because jewelry is just something that really feels home to me. And I like high contrast, so hence why I tend to wear a lot of silver. And then of course these glasses, they are real, they are prescribed, not just a fashion statement, but they also tend to just tie everything in. So I was just inspired by bold, courageous power moves, and of course my experience in being a designer.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw your outfit, it exudes power, but like softly, like that's the way I can describe it, like soft power, but still powerful. And I think with the bustier that you've got on, the boning on it, the structure of it just looks like reminds me of those John Paul Gaultier perfume bottles where they've got like that kind of look. It looks great. And then just touching on the glasses side of things that you just mentioned. So obviously, as you know, I'm an optician, so I couldn't probably end this conversation with you wearing those amazing glasses and not comment on them. So in terms of glasses and your style, how do you, like, when you're sort of styling people, do you focus on sort of the colours of the spectacles? Is that something that you sort of take into consideration when you're styling? And if so, do you steer away from certain styles and colours in general? Is it, or I would assume, is it very niche depending on the person that you're serving? Yeah.
Typically it's very niche. Funny enough, I actually haven't styled a lot of women who wear glasses. But it depends on who they are. It's for some women, I might mention like, it's in your nails and it's the earrings that you need to weave the color. For someone else, it's the frames. Especially for me, I'm someone where I wear my frames often. I wear them a lot, so I want them to make a statement and not just blend in or sit on my face. They need to be coherent with everything else that I'm doing. So it's very tailored. And even with color, the same thing. I personally don't do color analysis, but I will recommend a color palette for their wardrobe, for their style. So that, again, everything is just very cohesive. They have a cohesive wardrobe and they know what to look for in order to tie in the pieces within their wardrobe.
That makes perfect sense. And just to finish off and to round up, obviously you've got background in HR and fashion, and the things that you've been through in life in terms of your body image and being sort of rejected in terms of your entrepreneurial journey. Is there any sort of books that you've sort of read over the years that you felt have been really sort of pivotal for you and helped you at all? And if there is there anything that you would recommend?
Sorry, you got cut off again.
So just to sort of round off the session, I just wanted to ask whether during your journey, obviously you've been in the HR background, a fashion background, you've been on the entrepreneurial journey and faced rejection multiple times there, and then obviously you've had the issues in terms of body confidence and what people have been mentioning to you. During that journey, have you sort of turned to books at all? And have you read any books where you feel that, you know what, if I was to tell my younger self something, I would tell them to read this book?
Funny, during that time, I didn't read any
Okay.
books specifically. I was more journaling and into my faith. But now I would definitely recommend a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, because it speaks about emotional, spiritual, healthy thinking and decisions in a world that is very rushed and pressured. So I think that's a good book that touches on multiple different areas and it's quite practical as well. So that would be the book.
Thank you. And just finally, what's next for you?
What's next? I feel like I've sprinkled it a little bit in this. One of them is definitely collaborations and partnering with different companies in bringing that inner external well-being to the people in the workplace, because I do think they too deserve to be supported and heard and feel seen, and style is a powerful way to do that. Definitely more workshops and challenges throughout the year that I've got planned, and of course going beyond the borders.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Harriet. It's been absolutely fascinating listening to your journey in fashion and like how it's gone from a HR background to having your own label and now being a style coach, and definitely going to be looking at your 3-day challenge. And I think what I would say to everybody that's listening to this podcast is you've got nothing to lose by booking a 15-minute sort of discovery call, because it can just be that one thing that you might sort of pick up, and like how it's mentioned, like the one thing that you pick up and it just transforms your look. You might not probably got something at home that you don't even realize that you can be using or doing. So I would probably urge everybody to have a little look at that. I'll pop the links of Harriet's LinkedIn and Instagram onto the show notes for the podcast. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for that, Harriet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.